The film's story starts in a detention facility where a shackled prisoner is shown. After the arrival of the soldiers, the inmate's cell door is opened and he is dragged out onto the balcony. All of the inhabitants can be seen screaming and calling him a murderer and a bloody monster. The jailer demands that a guard declare his retribution. In front of the crowd, the guard announces that court has declared his punishment of hanging after 2 days. But before hanging, the executioner will break his hands and feet, and all people are thrilled with excitement hearing it. At last, who was that killer? Let's see. Now the story reverses a few years ago, where we see a view of Paris Fish Market, which was the most stinking place in the city. People used to earn their bread and butter by selling fish and meat. Here we see a fish seller lady who breeds a dead child, and this lady had also bred 4 dead children before, and she kicks them into the stream with the rotten fish. But she gave birth a live child now. But thinking him dead, she also throws him into a stream. Now that child weeps due to the odious smell of rotten fish. Standing people there catch the sight of this child and curse his mother. This child is the same prisoner who was announced punishment. His name was Jean. He possessed 2 characteristics. First, he possessed a perfect sense of smell. And secondly, if someone leaves him, that person was dead somehow, as his mother, who had thrown him after his birth, is sentenced to death. And Jean is sent to the orphanage of Madame Goulart, who used to foster the children only for the sake of money. But the children in orphanage feel insecurity taking their importance, so they try to kill Jean. But Goulart saves him coming there and beats those children. Facing difficulties in orphanage, Jean is unable to utter a word for 5 years. But using his sense of smell, he knows about everything. Due to the short capacity in an orphanage, Goulart sells him to the collector of animal skins at his 13 years old. As Jean leaves from there, some thieves kill Goulart, stealing all her money. The buyer of Jean takes hard work from Jean, and he also takes him to the city where, coming out from odor, Jean first, time takes the taste of the wonderful world and scents. Leaving luggage, Jean is attracted to a perfume shop, seeing it. He looks at a shopkeeper holding a very famous perfume. And at the same time, he smells another scent coming from a fruit seller girl. He's enchanted by her. That girl offers him fruit, taking him hungry, but Jean catches her hand off. On it, she leaves the place feeling fear. But Jean finds her using his sense of smell. He sits at the backside of her. The girl suspects someone's presence at her backside, and she shouts in fear. But Jean presses her mouth to avoid the people's attention, so the people may not gather there. As the people leave, Jean removes from the mouth of the girl, putting her dead, and her scent is gone, gradually leaving. Jean is astonished. Where will the scent dissolve? Now let's talk of another character who was the great perfumer of the city of Paris, and his job had gone down with the arrival of new perfumers in the city. He used to imitate the other perfumers. On the same evening, Jean visits his shop for the delivery of the goatskin, and he looks at the variety of perfumes there. Sensing the smell of Baldini's body, Jean says that he can make such perfume for him. And Baldini makes fun of him. Jean tells him about the power of his ability. Baldini gives him a chance. Jean creates perfumes and gives them to Baldini, who detects the aroma of love in them. This perfume was the most famous, so Baldini is left astonished. Seeing it, Jean ensures him that he can also make the best ever perfumes. Sensing its smell, Baldini misses his beloved. He has got a lot of talent. Now Baldini buys Jean from Grimil. On the same night, drunkard Grimil is dead, falling into a stream. Baldini and his perfumes get popularity in the whole Paris because of Jean, and he teaches Jean about his own perfume, making techniques. He tells Jean every perfume has 3 sets in which consist of 4 scents. It means total scents are 12, which can be differentiated by human beings easily. Otherwise, no existed man in this world can match this perfume if someone makes the 13th perfume. Jean becomes emotional about it, thinking he will be able to make it, and he asks Baldini to teach its process, promising to give its best method throughout the world. Baldini tells the process of adding 10,000 flowers into the bottle according to his designed machine, which he had learned it before coming in Paris. One day, Baldini finds Jean weeping. As Baldini asks the reason, Jean calls him a liar, saying that his told method is unsuccessful and old. I cannot capture the iron and glass into a bottle. After Baldini's incident, Jane loses consciousness. Now Baldini has got worried thinking about the loss of fame as Jean falls ill. Jean asks the other processes from Baldini, and he tells him to extract perfume from the fat of animals' skin. Baldini orders him to go to Grasse. He takes 1,000 formulas in return. Jean learns the work going to Grasse as Baldini sends him from there. As Jean leaves, Baldini's house is dashed out into dust, putting him to death. Going to Grasse, Jean first time realizes the sense of freedom. He was the slave of no one and could take his own decisions. Now there are two ways which lead to Grasse. One leads through the village while other is through the mountain. Now he begins to go through mountains. On the way, he observes a cave where he stays for rest. He sleeps peacefully, spending many days there, and once he dreams of that fruit seller girl. Awaking in confusion, Jean begins to smell his body but does not feel his own body smell. While showering in rain outside, he realizes that he is not his own smell. The next morning, he leads to Grasse. He senses the same fruit seller girl's perfume. He sees the prettiest girl getting off the carriage. Seeing this, he pursues her and comes to Grasse. Going to follow this girl, he enters a palace possessed by the world's richest man, Laura. The lovely girl is his daughter, who was Grasse's most stunning woman. Jean works for just a lady whose husband keeps a close watch on her. Jean learns the two tools for obtaining perfume from animal fat whilst also living in their company. He applies the first method over his female coworker. He boils that girl's dead body in a tank with animal's fat, but he cannot achieve success. In the second process, he takes a streetwalker in which he uses animal's fat glossing on a cloth. Killing her, Jean shaves her head, and glossing her dead body, he wraps it into cloth. And he becomes successful while extracting perfume from that cloth, according to the told method of Baldini, which he applies on streetwalker's pet dog for checking. Then he makes a set of 13 bottles told by Baldini. It means the murder of a person for each bottle. At Laura's birthday party, all girls and boys play there to hide and seek. Finding chance, Jean also arrives there and attacks Laura. But she is survived, and twin girls at the party are disappeared. Now we know that Jean makes first 2 bottles of set killing these 2 girls, and both girls' dead bodies are seen floating in the water, which is under the bridge of the city. After it, the chain of girls' murders begins in the whole city, and frightened people start to lock their outside doors of houses in order to save their daughters. But Jean prepares the 12 sets of the bottle and mixes them all into a big bottle. Now he needs 1 more bottle to make the perfect perfume. It means the murder of Laura. Observing Riches says that all victim girls were young, with no mark of seduction on their body. This murderer has killed them for a reason. All people visit the church for help, and the church's father agrees to help. Coming there, a man informs about being caught by that murderer. All people are filled with joy hearing it. Riches does not believe on this news. Worrying about his daughter, he decides to leave Grasse, so escapes with his daughter the next day. Jean senses the smell of going Laura from the city. Following her, he finds her with his ability. On the other side, streetwalker's dog detects the hair and clothing of its owner, Lady in Jean's room, which is known by Drute, who was the co-worker with Jean. Investigations of police discover the clothes and hair of other girls. Riches stays the whole night in a hotel with his daughter Laura and keeps the keys of her daughter's room in his own room. Jean steals the key from his room and goes to Laura's room. Next day, coming in Laura's room, Riches weeps bitterly finding Laura's dead body. Now Jean makes the 13th bottle, mixing it into his final bottle, and becomes successful. Now Jean is arrested by police. The story again begins where the punishment is being announced after 2 days. People come to see the end of Jean remotely. As they bring him out from the prison, finding chance, Jean opens the lid bottle. As the people stand for the weight of Jean, he advances to the executioner, who emerges from the carriage dressed as a prince. The executioner knees down and calls Jean blameless while weeping. Now, Jean also sprinkles perfume on a handkerchief, and all people feel the taste of heaven as he waves it in the air, and all call him an angel. Jean takes himself as the savior of mankind, and he throws his handkerchief among the people. And within a time, all people start making love without any discrimination of younger, elder, poor, rich, black, white, etc. Observing this, Jean feels true love. He misses that fruit seller girl. He believes that by loving her as such, he will be able to make her his own. Thinking about it, he is saddened and starts weeping. Suddenly, Riches reaches there holding a sword in his hand to murder Jean. But the magic of perfume also makes him uncontrollable. Bending down at his feet, he asks forgiveness. Jean realizes his mistake. He departs the city. Later, the effective perfume has disappeared among the citizens. Jean is now going to return to his birthplace fish counter. He takes the perfume bottle from his pocket and pours this over him. Realizing this, everybody in the room does have their eyes attracted to him due to the impact of the perfume ripping him. In this way, Jean's life is ended.